High density / big city residents, what's the craziest thing you've seen through someone else's windows? I was staying at my father-in-law's condo during a vacation with my wife. There's this annoying middle-aged guy that loves to talk to anyone who comes down to the pool. So we were at the pool talking to him, and he pulls out this big toy gun. We're like, what's that for? And he explained that it shot out salt and he used it to kill flies. That's pretty cool, I admit. We let him shoot it at us to feel how much force it had, and it wasn't much at all, but I imagine those little grains of salt shred bug wings. Anyway, he eventually went back inside and so did we. Then we came back out later in the night to BBQ. He was in his home and walking around naked. Okay, no biggie, just a naked chubby middle-aged guy. Not the worst thing I've seen in my life. What made this shit weird is that he walked up to one of his end tables, played with his junk for a second, then reached down and grabbed the salt gun and proceeded to shoot himself in the twig and berries with it for like 2 minutes non-stop, then headed back into the parts of the house that weren't visible. TLDR, neighbor showed us his salt gun fly swatter thing, and then later on that night, used it to shoot himself in the balls over and over for roughly 2 minutes straight. Makes sense. You can salt your meat if you want to store it for a long time and not use it. A naked fat bro with a profusely bleeding nose playing football with a lot of intensity, alone. Cocaine is a hell of a drug. Before our firm relocated our offices, we officed in one of the Dallas skyscrapers downtown. During the day, you really can't see through the windows of the other buildings, but at night, we could make out what people were reading on their computers. To a degree, we circulated an office-wide memo warning people to close their blinds at night, because we handle some pretty sensitive cases. One night I was working late and go to close my blinds and I look out across the way and I see a dude sitting at his desk, masturbating to bondage. I don't judge, to each their own, but yeah, fair warning to all my skyscraper friends, we can see your computers. The replies in this thread reminded me of a truism I heard once that I think checks out. If you stand naked outside your front door and your neighbors can't see you, that's rural. If you stand naked outside your front door and your neighbors call the cops, that's suburban. If you stand naked outside your front door and your neighbors ignore you, that's urban. I once saw a person in full Spider-Man costume just watching TV in their apartment, mask and all, like all night long. This continued each night for all 3 nights I was in the city. It made me believe that Spider-Man is real, but that he doesn't really have much to do besides watch TV. In Toronto, I rented the top floor of a house. The house behind us was set back from the street, and the houses on either side were almost in front of it, so you could barely see it from the street. They had planted tall bushes and trees, so you couldn't see the hidden house. But we could, from our fire escape / balcony. We almost never saw who lived there. I was having a dart up on the fire escape one morning, and I see their back door open up, and a guy in his early to mid 40s come out in a bathrobe. He lights a dart as well. We give each other a little open palm wave and nod. A minute later, a black woman comes out in a bathrobe, looking to be naked underneath, and she takes a drag off his cigarette. Then another woman, a white woman, comes out, also in a bathrobe, and admonishes the first 2 for smoking. The guy puts it out, and they all go back inside. A couple of months later I noticed the guy, the 2 women and 4 kids at the local park. 2 white kids, 2 mixed ethnicity kids, all around the same age. That dude was living large on the down low. Sort of the reverse for me. My SO can't keep her clothes on, and she doesn't care about the blinds, completely assured no one is looking, till one day our neighbor's blinds fell down. There he was, in hand, red as a beet, and staring right at us. Record scratch. When I was in college, our dorms were basically high-rise apartments. One night I was looking out the window, contemplating life, when I saw a man and woman having sex in a building across the street. Like perfect view of everything. Their bed was directly in front of the window. I called my roommates over, and we kinda just watched for a minute. Then we opened our window and started cheering them on. The guy glanced over, grinned and kept going. We were basically watching live. I casually watched my neighbor do a line of coke after sorting most of it into easy to sell containers. Definitely the guy that uses his large screen TV to masturbate every night with his curtains wide open. His interests are pretty bland. Just your standard start getting pounded by a dude whose face you never see. I'd have to actively try not to see this. That's how easy it is to see. Well, it's 10 PM. Better not look out the window cause then we'll see neighbor man getting his wank on. TLDR, this kid was spinning the shit out of himself. I was smoking on a balcony with some friends when we saw something moving in someone's window. It was someone's living room and some kid, maybe 4 years old, had his arms out airplane style. He was spinning around the room so goddamn hard he kept popping in and out of view and genuinely lasted longer than anyone expected. I don't know how, but he must have been going for a full 5 minutes, bouncing off his couch every so often. By the end we were cheering him on. I live in downtown Toronto, and I've seen 2 people fucking out of a window. As in, the dude was inside, the girl's front half was out the window, and they were going at it. It was pretty fucking funny. Not even through the window, but when I was at Penn State I saw a couple fucking on the balcony at about 3 AM or so. That probably doesn't count though, because college in Denver, across from where I work, is an apartment building. It is well known throughout my office that there is a man 1 floor down that spends roughly 4 hours every day playing Destiny 2 while in his underwear. Recently saw him playing Sekiro naked, and people were more interested in his game change than they were in his lack of witty tighties. He didn't seem to enjoy it much because he was back on Destiny within the hour according to my coworker. Not exactly windows, but there is a guy who sunbathes across from our office. 20 something stories up, on his porch, in the nude. Every now and then in the summer the call will go out, naked guy is out again. We will all take a quick look to confirm. Yep, he still doesn't know we can see him. The office has tinted windows. From outside they look opaque. He knows. Are you the naked guy? When I was a teenager, a friend and I thought it would be hilarious to order pizza to the house across the street and watch the confusion unfold. The confusion was anticlimactic, as you can imagine, but the aftermath was crazy. We could see right into their living room and the dad/husband went fucking crazy and started screaming and throwing shit, and then started actually punching holes in the wall and ripping apart said wall. Once the hole was started, we didn't do the pizza thing again. Right after college I lived in a communal housing situation outside of New York City. We all had our own bedrooms/living areas, but shared a cooking space. About 15 to 20 people lived there at any given time, depending on who was sleeping with what. Most of us were in our 20s, give or take a few strange ducks. One morning about 3 or 4 AM I wake up to the sound of running. Loud running. So I crawl out of bed and look into the hall. Next thing I know there are 5 guys sprinting down the hall in their boxers, socks and high freaking heels. Not just little kitten heels, full blown stripper heels that I couldn't walk in. Apparently one of the guys had found an assload of shoes in a spare closet in their size, and completely sober, I'm told, decided to practice relays with some of his neighbors. Personally I just closed my door and locked it behind me. That was a strange few years. I lived in a big city and made friends with a few guys who lived across the alley from me. They were out drinking on the deck one night when I got home, and they invited me over. So we are drinking, and I need to take a piss. Walk back to the bathroom and glance out the window to see a fire on a deck. Then I realize it's my f***ing deck that is on fire. Barge in on my roommate who is asleep at this point. Dude put his cigarette out into a cardboard box. It caught fire, burned through our deck, and then onto the neighbors below. Ducking idiot. Saw a crazy guy yelling at Up's truck accusing it of being a Decepticon, telling it to show itself and transform. He was literally punching and kicking it. It was 9 AM. I live in New York City. In my first apartment, my bedroom window was right up against my neighbor's bedroom window. Our windows were 3 feet apart. Neither of us had blinds or curtains. We kinda just lived peacefully, ignoring each other, changing, watching Netflix, listening to music. We were both single, and on more than one occasion, we both had guests over at the same time. We only finally met when we were both moving out on the same day. We got a drink together and laughed about all the shenanigans we had in front of each other. Never learned each other's names. Was the best neighbor I ever had. I used to live in an apartment building in the East Village in New York. I was on the back of the building, which faced two other buildings, essentially forming a square behind my building. We used to call this space the shaft. Across the shaft from me there was a girl around my age, at the time, 20 something, who would never wear clothes. And she kept her curtains open all the time. I'd wake up and look out the window facing the shaft and see her cooking an omelette, fully naked. Sometimes before bed she'd do stretches in her room, naked. In the morning she'd get dressed for work with the blinds fully open. I swear I saw her boobs more frequently than my girlfriends. One night I came back from the bars and looked across the shaft and saw that she wasn't alone. This was weird because despite her nakedness I rarely saw her with anyone else. She didn't have a boyfriend or anything. She was in her room with 3 other people, 2 guys and a girl, and they were all naked too. They weren't having sex or anything, but they were all kind of in a pile on the bed, naked together. I still wonder what her deal was. Was she a nudist or something? In any case, that's the weirdest thing I've seen through someone else's windows. Thanks for watching this video, and don't forget to subscribe.